Hi everyone, I'm back for another book review out here on a beautiful day. This one is The Last 4 Days of Paddy Buckley by Jeremy Massey. Once again, I don't have the book, so here's a picture of the cover. So The Last 4 Days of Paddy Buckley is supposed to be a book that is like a black comedy, so a dark, humorous book. And at the beginning, I really liked it. It was really well written and interesting. It was basically Paddy Buckley is a undertaker, and yeah, I mean, like, that was the beginning of the book. He's an undertaker who's lost his wife, and so he's depressed about that, and he doesn't sleep well, and blah blah blah. And I thought it was really well written, and it was interesting until he went to this house in like chapter 3 where a woman had just lost her husband and he was planning out the funeral with her, and they went upstairs to pick out a suit that he could be buried in, and this woman hugs him, and she keeps hugging him and keeps hugging him, and he's like, oh, I have to keep her, like, let her keep hugging me because she's grieving for her husband, but I'm also getting a boner right now, basically, is what happened. And even though, like, all the previous 2-3 chapters he'd been all depressed about how his wife had just died and he can't stop thinking about her, he's suddenly getting a boner when this woman is hugging him after her husband has just died, and then he has sex with her. So what the hell? Like, okay, I suddenly can't relate to this character anymore, and I'm suddenly like, you just abused a woman who, well, he didn't necessarily abuse, but he took advantage of a woman who was grieving because he suddenly got a boner while she was hugging him. And I was like, all I could think of was, dude, if it's that much for you, go jerk off in your room or anywhere in your house because your wife's dead. And it's been talking about that for the last 3 chapters, but suddenly you're having sex with this woman whose husband just died because you got a boner while she was hugging you. And I was like, okay, I can no longer relate to this man, and I think this is weird and gross and wrong. So, like, part of me kind of gets it. It's like, oh, they're both grieving and now they're comforting each other, except not really. Like, pull away from the hug, dude, if it's literally that bad for you. And then I just didn't read the rest because I suddenly couldn't identify with this character, and books where I can't identify with characters are hard for me to read. And I suddenly had no respect for this man anymore, and it's called The Last 4 Days of Paddy Buckley, and I was like, well, I hope you die, because I'll just tell you what happened during this chapter. So if you don't want to and you want to go read about this before I tell you what happens, you can put your ears. So, yeah. I'm still recording, yeah.
You okay? You okay?
You can come outside if you want. Sorry, if you notice a little jump right there, my grandma just came out to see what I was doing. Yes, so I will tell you what happens. Is what he does is, after having sex with this woman, or during the sex, she dies. And he decides to make it look like she just, died upstairs of grief or something while she was going to look for a suit for her husband. I was like, yeah, I no longer have any sympathy for or like this character, Paddy, so I really hope he does die at the end of the book because I don't like him anymore. I would have liked to have kept reading it because it was well written at the beginning. It was, I was entertained. I was into it. I kept reading it, and then this section happened, and I was like, ew, you're kind of a disgusting man who just took advantage of a woman, and now that she's dead because she forgot to take her medications while she was busy having it out with you, you're gonna make it look like she just passed out because now you're gonna lose your job. I was like, you're just a horrible person. You're like the scumbags in detective shows that at the end you're really glad that they were caught because they had no sense of decency whatsoever. And that's exactly what I felt about this man. So I never finished the book, and I wouldn't suggest it because I couldn't relate to the character. If what I just described to you doesn't bother you, then obviously, yeah, go read it, okay? Like, maybe you'll find it more interesting than me, but I didn't. And that was a quick review of why I didn't like The Last 4 Days of Paddy Buckley by Jeremy Massey, or Macy, not sure how to pronounce the last name. And that's that. I was trying to think of a question. I mean, he's an undertaker, but I feel like I might have already talked about what I want to happen to my body when I'm dead, which if I didn't, here's it is real quick. I want to be sent to a body farm, but I want to be mummified in case the serial killer ever decides to mummify victims and leave them out. And then when the body farm is done, figuring out what they want to do with my body, like when they're done with their scientific experiments, I want all of my flesh stripped from my body, and I want my bones to be displayed in a museum somewhere for people to look at, maybe doing something cool like rock climbing or riding on a bike, or, so they can see how bones look and the human structure. That's what I want to happen to my body when I die. Anyway, like I said, that was a super quick review. If you like book reviews, if you like reading, please like, subscribe, and comment below. What do you want to happen to your body when you're dead, or do you not care because you'll be dead? Also, I am an organ donor, so my organs can be donated. Be an organ donor. You can potentially save lives. And yeah, I have a podcast about writing right now. It's called Fighting for Writing. It's about my writing journey and the books I'm working on right now. You can find it on basically every podcast platform: Apple, Amazon, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podcast Republic, Radio Public. Yeah, it's in all those places. So go check it out. It's called Fighting for Writing by Tate, T-A-T-E. And thank you for listening. I do try and post videos on Fridays, but just based on my work schedule, some days I can't get to it. For some weeks. It honestly depends on if I've read a book recently, if I've had the time to read. And I have had a lot of time to read recently, which is nice. But I would also like to work more, so we'll see what happens. Thank you all for listening, and you all have a great day.